everyone, welcome back. Something a bit different this time, an Australian car. It's going to be doing a quarter panel section on this car. The quarter panel has been made too high up. It's got to come down to about 155. It's currently 120. So I'm going to make this section here and infill it into the quarter to get it back to matching the other side. So I'll show you how to do that. Really nice paint job. So some blankets and stuff down and plastic up the whole car. Don't want any sparks to damage any paintwork. So the problem we're facing here with the car is it is 155 from the body line to the arch, and on this side the arch has been made too high up, so we've got to bring the arch down 25 mil. So we recreate this arch section, and it's been opened up for a 28-inch tyre as well, so have to accommodate that. Now it's my understanding there's going to be a lot of bog in this quarter, and I hate bog dust in the shop, so I'm going to paint strip the section out that I need access to, and we'll see how we go. The inners are also sheeted, so I have to take that into consideration as well for access. So just cardboard template, checking the profile between each side and comparing the difference. Really, the side's slightly different shape in this area, and compared to the arch I was supplied with, it's close to the passenger side, but this driver side's definitely wrong in shape. So it's good that the supplied arch matches a lot nicer to the original of the car. So this is only one-time tooling, so just a bit of 5mm plate, top and bottom die. I'm only going to make up a section that's like 50mm, so it doesn't need to be too crazy thick or anything, just going to use it once. Okay, so I made the tooling for the Pullmax, nothing fancy, just a bit of 5mm. I'm only going to make a section up anyway for this arch. Okay, so it's got the dies in there now, just setting clearances, give it a test run now. So I've set my depth to be the full depth of the die, which should be this, and should let it roll along this pretty nicely. See what it does there. Okay, so first run on the test piece, it's fitting pretty good. So now I've got my centerpiece, I don't have to dick around and make like a massive plywood template as a guide system or anything to get this radius. I'm just adding a section in the middle, and that's it. Now I would go to the effort of making the plywood template and stuff to use for the Pullmax if I was ever going to make these again, but I barely do any Aussie cars, so I don't see the point in going to all the effort of spending a whole day making a template when there's no need, you'll never do one again. And the fact that so many other people make quarters and stuff for these Falcons, so there's just no need to get into that market. Okay, so I've clecoed the supplied arch on there, and as we can see just how high up it was and how much it's got to be extended by to fit the tyre. So I have to add some lines in here as well, so I can do that, but yeah, I've just got to use the piece that I've made, get the infill section out of it, and yeah, happy days. Join that in, TIG and planish it, and then start taking some paint off and see what hides under here. So before I TIG this in, show you my little infill, just sitting there against it, a little cleco just holding it to it. So I'll TIG that to this side first, and then I'll scribe it along this side and join it together. So that's just stitched together and just buzzed with the 80 on a little roll-lock, whatever you want to bloody call the things. So I'm ready to TIG the rest of it, and then I'll planish it up a bit further. Okay, so that's joined together, so I'm just going to change to 36 roll-lock, buzz the weld pretty close, and then go to an 80, and we'll see what it needs from there. Okay, so just planishing up the join with the die set. Okay, so joined and hung back on the car. So now I've got to add these body lines into it just with the bead roller, and I can just play with it a little bit more. It's got a little bit to bump out in a few spots there, but yeah, it's fitting pretty good. Yeah, so the area I'm talking about is this sharp rounded edge of the body line, which is the wheel arch, which runs into this lower quarter line, and doesn't look like it's there on the other side. It's made out of bog, so I'll have to make this because I'm not digging bog out and joining it in just for someone to rebog this shape. I'd rather just make this, and that way it's mint. So yeah, where this wheel arch joins this body line, it's nice and rounded and sharp, but it doesn't look like it has that. These pieces have been welded in before, and there's no sign of the body line being round and joining up there. It's obviously made out of bog. So you can see where my clecos are as to where I'm going to be joining to, but annoying, but it's what you got to do. Okay, so the rear has had lower quarters put on, and the shape is there. It's a bit caved in and played with, but the shape is there. So my piece comes to about here, so I'm going to see what it looks like once I dig the paint off. Might be able to save this area here and actually tap it back from this side. We'll see. Preferably I'd rather just bead roll the line into it so it's nice and crisp, and that way I can join back here in this area, which will put me around here instead of in the corner there, and it'll get rid of that mess. So I've templated the radius for what it needs to be against this line and up the wheel arch for both sides. So I'm going to transfer it to the other pieces now. Okay, so that's what the body line is meant to do. So I'll mark that on both sides, and now I'm going to have to obviously mark it on the other side in order to bead roll it. So I've transferred the body line to the inside. I'm going to take it to the bead roller and add that in. And as a refresher, this is what it looks like, but all this is made out of bog, so I'm hoping to join past that and come up around here. Okay, so I'm going to use the bead roller to add this body line in now. Push it onto this side. That's not going to work, it's going to hit the tripod, so I'm going to move it. As you can see, it's phone run out of memory, so try that again. It's pushed that line on there pretty faintly, and this area has to actually swoop inwards as well, so we'll get to that when we get to it. I'm going to put the other side in now. So I've only faintly put it in there on both ends. I'm going to chuck it back on the car and just make sure that the line's ending up in the right spot. Okay, that's clecoed back on the car, and as we can see, the line's ending up in the right spot. Just needs this area to be stretched inwards so it matches this flow, because the line actually has to swoop around, and because that's concaved in, it blends out into this line, same as the back. Back does the same thing. So this is all concaved in, and it's got to swoop and meet the line nicely. So I'll get to doing that now. And for something like this, to blend this in nicely, I'm just going to use the mallet and just manually hit it in with the sandbag and the big rubber block, because it'll take a bit longer, but it's more accurate if I can see exactly where my blows are going. So I'll do that now. Okay, so I'll check it on the car now and see where it's actually headed. It's just telling me it needs a ton more stretch, so I'll probably end up getting that till it's at the point where it's a massive moon. So more whacking. Another check to see where it's headed. It's coming around now, so that area is stretched. So I won't do much more of this on camera because it's just so boring and repetitive until we get to the other side. So I'll get this area pretty close and then I'll jump back on the camera. So as I'm pulling this area down, this area here is wanting to suck inwards, just on this little circular area. So you sit it over the top of this dolly here, just bump that area back out, and should almost be pretty good then. Just a little bit of blending here, pull it all, transition it all nicely, and then it should be this side pretty much roughed out, and I'll jump on the other side. Okay, so it's really starting to take shape now. It's swooping in decently, it's matching up and fading off. So I think I've just got a touch more in this area here to blend with the mallet. I'm just going to sit it back on, see what it sits like. So I'll line up the clecos there. I'm going to need two hands to put this on. Okay, so just chucked a few clecos in. Now we can see this area will meet up with a bit of pressure, but it forces the arch off. So if we want the arch to meet, it puts this area back off. It's telling me that it still needs to be stretched around a touch more. It's splaying this way too much, so play with that a bit more and stretch the arch in both ends, and we'll see how we can get it sitting. Righty, so the front is pretty much roughed out, it's fitting decently. Just got to modify the arch opening slightly, just got to be moved a touch further forward, but other than that, fitting pretty good. Just a bit of blend here to address, and I'll probably run the bead roller along the arch at the end to sharpen it all up. It's a bit rounded off. So now we're up to this side, so I'll do the same here. Just mallet all this area in and blend it through this area. The opening size seems correct, so hopefully we don't have to play with that. So front side is pretty much roughed out, so we'll do the same to this side now. Just use the mallet to flow this area in, this bodyline concave. So backside is clamped back on, the wheel arch area is fitting, and as we can see, this area here has to be stretched down to meet, especially this corner as well. But there's another line here that swoops up around there as well, so I'm going to have to look into that on the inner piece and see how far before they've actually joined the lower quarter, because I want to join on an area where there's no previous MIG weld. So fitting pretty decently, just got to pick this line up a little bit and trim this area off. We've got enough meat from the backside. The flash on. So that piece is joined above there, and I've got it to about here. So I'll probably go in this area here. I'll take the paint off and just see how bad it is. It might be cave and paved, I'm not sure yet. But at least I know I've got enough meat to go past all that area. So we'll see where we need to join it along the bottom through here. So clecoed back on, fitting pretty well roughed out on these areas. Bit of a line to sharpen up there, but before I make this swage here where the second line fades off, I'm just going to raw all this area and actually see how much I've got to play with, because if I don't have to make it, I might be able to join through here. So I'm just going to raw all this paint off and see what we got to play with here. as you can see, it's very full of filler. I don't really want all this dust in the shop, so I might roll it back outside and roll all this quarter down, because yeah, that's just going to make a mess. I made enough of a mess in here last week when I was repairing my Hilux, so this is why I don't deal with paint or bog dust. I hate it. And the aircon just picks it up and throws it everywhere, so it's not good. Now, judging by the rest of the repairs everywhere and how thick it is, I can bet my life this is made out of bog. Yep, as expected. Cave and pave. Michelangelo will be proud of that one. 12 mil. Jesus Christ, get it close. Now there's a big difference between a 1 mil, 2 mil skim over the whole quarter and 12 mil thick. Create your own body lines and swages. Like, that's just pathetic. Don't do that shit. Even bogged on the wheel arch. Like, made the wheel arch 10 mil wider than where it has to be. That's like one stone chip away from your whole quarter blowing off. So dumb. Yeah, that's mint, man. What do you mean? No filler or file finish. Now the worst part about this is I've made the replacement arch to suit whatever bogged up shit show they have. So now I can see it creeping further forward by about 10 mil each end, which means I might have to extend my piece again in the center, which is a joke, because you don't really expect that people are this bodgy, but they're out there. In hindsight, I kind of wish I rawed some areas at the start, but I really wanted reference points and it looked alright. Like, I looked on the inside, didn't think there was going to be a massive cake fest like this, but yeah, see what happens. Raw the rest of it. Some bare metal here, which is nice. So yeah, it just gets worse and worse and worse the further I dig, and the problem being is I have to dig somewhere where I can actually join nicely, and I'm assuming that they've just added 10 mil of thickness to the whole car. Probably explains why the door shuts nice and it's in, so I wouldn't be surprised if I go all the way up to the edge and this whole edge is bogged as well, which is depressing, because it would have been really nice just to be able to do a little section here and they can just bog it to suit and paint it. I really want to avoid going near the body lines and stuff, because everything else on the car is shaped to suit, so it's just a double-ended sword here. Is you got to go somewhere where you can join nicely, but you don't want them to put all this filler back in it. Like, it's just so not me. I don't deal with this. Anyone who bogs shit like this, I hope you step on a Lego every single day you wake up, because you're a criminal. Fucking hell. I'm just chasing a spot where I can actually join to, and I think, man, how much bog do you want to use? That is insane. There's no need for this ever. 10 mil thick. Fucking disgusting. Making my shop a disaster. Just trying to even raw past the point. I wanted to push it outside, but it's 37 degrees today and it's far too hot to be working outside, but the regret. No more painted cars ever in my shop. Blast them before they come, or I'm not interested. This shit is the worst. Seriously can't understand what they've done here. It's all unnecessarily in there. They've just bogged the hell out of it, lost the shape, and then bogged it up 10 mil and put the shape back in it. It's like, what the fuck's all this bog for? Especially here, this is a perfect example of it. Is like, the shape's there. Why did you bog it 10 mil thicker and then put the shape back in it and not as much shape? Bizarre. Okay, so we've got it set back on, seeing what I can do about this horror show. So I should be able to join it along there pretty well. I've got access from the inside, so I should be able to bump that line and sharpen it up. I can weld all this on. The backside, it's going to fit alright. Here is where they've sucked the inner's right around, so I've got to fudge this arch and bring it in a touch more to suit their wheel arch. I don't really want to go remaking all that because then it just spreads further and further, so I'll make it suit what they've already made. It's already got inner wheel arches welded in the whole way as well, so just trying to prevent making more of a mess. Like ideally I'd start again with the whole quarter, but it's an already painted car, so we'll just get it done. Got to extend the inner wheel arches as well, down 30mm difference, so I'll do that after the outer skin's actually on. Alrighty, so the edges are played with, cut and TIG those back up to the right profile for these lowers. So I've got a little bit of line work to play with on this. I have matched it to suit this, but I'm just going to unmask it a bit, get the laser on, make sure it is end to end, it's going to end up the same, and it's pretty much ready to start TIGging it on. Alrighty, so we're back on it. It's Monday morning. I'm just going to sharpen up this body line now. It's pretty rounded off from how I was given the piece, so I'm just going to sharpen it so it matches the ends that I've put in. It's a 50mm piece, 45 from the center of the rounded arch, so I should just be able to run the bead roller straight on that line and bump it up to where I want it to be, and then I can go about removing this piece here and start looking at how the inner is joined to that piece. So I think the sad part is the shape is actually there. It's all fresh arches and lowers welded in, so it's absolute madness to be loading it on 8 to 10mm thick over the top of this for no reason. Like, whoever did this needs to buy a hammer and dolly for Christmas, I think, and work on their metalwork a bit before they start loading the mud on. So I'm forced to bump up the line sharp to match what they've actually got, so that the door and the guard are going to match. And same deal here, where they've really sharpened up this back line, I'm going to bump it up here. Alright, so I've chopped off the existing arch. You can see the shape is there. Under all that filler, the shape's there. So they've joined the lower, and what I can see is going to give me a bit of grief. Turn the flash on. Is my piece is almost going to join onto where they've already joined, just at these lowers, front and back, which is kind of annoying. It's giving me a little bit of trouble, but yeah, my piece will be around about the same spot and taper off. So I can see how they fucked it up. I should be able to sharpen this line up. I've got access in here, but I can see how they fucked it up. Now, by the size of the weld, when they put this arch in, they've cocked it up on an angle too much and then joined it back together. So instead of adding an infill piece when they've stretched the guards, they've somehow just monkeyed it up and just pushed it up until each piece met, and it changed this angle here. That's why it was so sharp. So that's how I figured out how they've stuffed up the body line distance to the arch being 30mm short. Is, yeah, they've just cocked the pieces up when they've welded it in. To give a comparison of the height, is where I've cut it out, is about there. And yeah, you can see that the arch, they've just cocked the angle up from the bottoms and yeah, really stuffed the center up by doing that. So now I'm going to take the wheels off, just put it on jack stand, and I'm going to make the inner arch that it needs. Really hard to see in there, but the inner arch has been cut here off the existing outer wheel well, and I've got to bring that down to meet. So I've got to extend the inner arch 30mm. So yeah, I'm going to take the wheel off, make that piece now, get it tacked in, check it on the arch again, and then they've obviously trimmed this edge back right down for wheel clearance, so I've got to match that to the other side. And yeah, pretty much want all the inner arch welded in and sorted, then I can prime it all, and then I can put this outer on. Right, so wheel is pulled off, and you can see the arch that I've got to extend here. So I've got to joyfully pull all this stone guard off, wear it on my head, and we'll see. Make this shape up, trim this lip back, and get it all fitting well, and then weld the inner completely. That way it can be primed both sides before it gets joined to this. So I've annoyingly had to pause on this, drop everything. I've put it on jack stands and I've had to drop everything because I've had to reshuffle the shop. I've had a car getting picked up tomorrow. I've had 1 day's notice and it's been up top in my other area, and there's a few little things I've got to tidy up on it still, so I'm now going to spend my day on that. And I've got another car rocking up tomorrow to take its place, so now my whole workshop is bloody chaos. And 99% sure that the inner is made out of bog as well, because it seems very thick and I can't see a join, so I can imagine this is all lap, tack and slap special on the inside as well. Fucking criminals. Noticed on the inner there's also a hole here which would let water just drip right in to this area and just rot it out, so that's good. Thinking ahead. So I've just roughly cut it out with the shears, and as you can see, holding it up against, the top edge needs to be shrunk over to meet and to match that profile of curled. So put this in the thumbnail dies now and shrink this edge so it starts to curl it all over. So yeah, just a recap, I'm going to use the thumbnail dies to curl this edge over by shrinking it. So I'll try that now. As you can see, it starts to bite into it and really shrink this edge over, which in turn pulls it around. It's such a pain in the ass with the car there. I'm so paranoid of being near it, so I've just taking my time. And just went for a uniform spacing on there, just did it the whole way around on there. So now I see that the very bottom needs a lot more. So this middle area is pretty well alright. Might need a touch more, but it's the very corners that need to be wrapped tighter. So play around with that a bit more. So I end up just docking it in the middle because I just found it was a nightmare to try and do in one piece, such a guessing game. So I've just got both halves fitting decent, so I'm just going to join that back up, and then I'll just give the top another trim, and I'll start cutting it in and joining it up. Okay, so inner arch extension, which is making that 30mm longer, and I should be able to join past the bogged up mess which is about there. Should be able to join to the fresh tub, should be nice. So now I just got to keep trial fitting the outer. So hard one hand. Yeah, keep trial fitting the outer until it fits, and yeah, just keep trimming off here until I get it fitting nice and snug along the edge, and that'll be sweet to weld this in. Okay, so inner arch is ready to start welding on. It's fitting decent the whole way. Just going to go on there, and I'm going to get rid of this lip because the wheel arch obviously has to come at a different angle to what that is, so there's no point leaving that behind. That's why I'm going past it, piss it off completely, and yeah, the backside should fit well as well. Get rid of all this bogged up mess. So as expected, bog on the outside, bog on the inside. Why? There's no need for that shit. You've stone guarded it. Christ's sake, how bad is it? I see why there's bog there. That's where they've cut the inner wheel arch and raised it up to keep this existing shape, because they fucked up by putting the wheel arch too high. They had to cut the inner and move everything up and fudge it instead of just putting the outer down to where it needs to be. You think the alarm bells would start ringing when you go to fit it and you have to cut the inner of one side but not the other, and you think maybe I should check on the other side and see if this is the same, instead of continuing and getting it to the point of the car being painted and then me coming back and fixing the fuck up and putting it where it needs to be. So silly. Alrighty, so the inner is made, just got to fill all the blanks now. So all just tapped up, ready to go. Then I've got to trim down the edge, which blends off and joins up to a 10mm edge on the outer. So yeah, instead of just caving all that in and caking it full of bog, I've just joined on it and I'll blend it off how it should be to match the other side. Ideally you put another return on there like factory and then you spot it to it, but the other side is like this, and so I've got to match it, but match it properly. So I'm going to TIG the rest of all this up and yeah, then finish it and nearly ready to fit the outer again. Quickly slap this on just to show you. Lining the holes up is hard. Yeah, you can see it'll blend off from that and then jump to 10mm, which I'll weld the two together, this face to here. So 6 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm going to fill in all the gaps by TIGging it in the morning, but that inner wheel arch is pretty much made and right shape, so the inner flange will taper off to nothing both sides, and then this face is welded to the inner arch to match the other side, but properly, not just lap, tack and slap. So that's lined on, and yes, we'll just meet that face and should be happy days. Okay, frustrating, phone ran out of memory, but I finished welding all the little blanks on this, so now I've just got to punish it up and buzz the weld off. Alrighty, so inner is extended to the right height now, both sides. Got the lip joined on and blending off to where it will join onto both sides, and the inside looks like looks like this. Right, and that's the outer clear coat back on, so I just want to sharpen up these lines, and that's the inner ready to join on everywhere. And the same as the back here, I want to sharpen up that line so it matches the what they've done a bit better. Okay, so overlapping areas are done with weld through, the rest in etch, same as the underside of this. So I'm pretty much ready to start TIGging it on for good now. Hopefully my short little arms can reach in here. I do have a little bit of access, like there's webbing and stuff like that. I'm just worried about the center, trying to get in the center. I might have to get someone else here to give me a hand to finish it off. Right, so clear coat and clamped back on now, so I'm ready to start getting some tic tacs on it where I can, and yeah, should be pretty well good. Clamped to the inner, this gets just pulled to it and welded along the edge to match the other side. Same as here. Some plugs in this, until where it gets welded along. Oh yeah, should be pretty good. Hopefully I have access on the inside enough. I'm so short, so I don't know if I'll be able to reach in there. This is the struggles of doing this by yourself. If you had someone else there to hold the dolly on the other side and stuff, it'd be much nicer, but yeah, when you're by yourself you got to come up with some ingenious ideas. Go gadget arms or something. Now one thing before I actually weld this on is I want to take the other wheel off and just measure from chassis or wheel tub. I get a measure from rail and from wheel tub out to the lip just to make sure they're both in the exact same spot, because who knows what other shit has gone on, if they've pulled this one out or anything like that. But when I had it on with the wheels, it measured the same. But yeah, I'd like to measure off the rail to the quarter just to be triple sure before it gets welded on again. No point welding this on, it looks nice and it's in the wrong spot width-wise. That'll just be a fucking disaster. So I've started to get the Tic Tacs on and bumping the metal up where it needs to be on the faces. As you can see, you'll be able to get rid of 90% of all that cake mix. It doesn't need to be there. So once all this area is pulled up, I'll probably take the bog out a bit further, and that way I can dress the metal right up, because yeah, you can see that it doesn't need all that filler there at all. It might have with the bodginess that was there, but yeah, it doesn't need to be there now. So obviously I can just get to this area and the front area here, but obviously the middle here, it's just impossible for me to get access to. I can see what I want to do in there, but I can't get in that little gap. So how I've been doing this is I've got the I've been getting this hammer handle, putting it in here, and then putting the slapper up the arch, seeing where I want it to push on, and then, sorry, that way, seeing where I want it to push, and then hitting this face here with the mallet to pump that area out, and using the chassis rail as a leverage point just to pump the areas that I can't get to out, save them sucking right in. And yeah, the drastic removal of bog just by getting the panel where it should be. So it's not my conventional do little stitches along and then just run one big zap on there, because I haven't got access to 60% of this and it's sucking in so harshly just with each little tiny weld. So I'm just going to go bit by bit, wire wheel this off and just keep addressing, knock their heads off these welds and just keep addressing these areas as I go, just so it doesn't get away from me. I can just see it, if I went zap it would just suck right in like what happened to them, and then yeah, instead of them popping it all out, they just loaded it right up with bog. Because you can still see there's a weld, it's hard to see, but there is another MIG weld in this area. That's why the panel doesn't really want to cooperate too much with the shape. It's sort of held in there because they've already monkeyed it up. Damn it, dropped it, broke my last one of these, and I'm out of gas. So 6 o'clock, nearly welded on now, but paddle on tomorrow. Okay, so that's all the welding and sanding, the 80 on the roll-lock. So now it's going to bump up a few more areas that need sorting, and then I can do the inner. So ready to weld the inner. So I've also got to trim this area down. It's not meant to look like this, so it's meant to be level with that, and then blend off and start the flange. And how they've got the other side is correct, but yeah, it's meant to be level with the sill flange and then taper around, so I'm going to match that. Have a look at the inside, it's all blended. No, that's their weld, my weld's here. Okay, so that's pretty much welded and sanded. It's a bit more I'd like to do in the center, but I'm only one person and I can't hold a hammer and dolly without it being out of arm's reach, so that'll have to do, unfortunately. I think the panel shop will appreciate that it's TIGged and they can just move it wherever they want, but it's good to see that the whole 10mm of bog is not going to be there anymore. It's going to fuck off and it'll get a very minimal amount of bog. That's all sorted now. I gave it a protective coat of Easy Floss just to protect the metal until it heads to the paint shop, and yeah, hopefully the owner gets to enjoy this car now. It's not really much to complain about though, at least it's all on the same plane now. It doesn't have 10mm of mud covering everything, so yeah, I don't think there's much to complain about there. Come out pretty decent. And all TIG welded, so the panel beater has full access and it can move it wherever they want. Didn't stitch them up and MIG it on. I'll give the owner a little goodie bag to take home. It has all little reference points of what mess they made there. Hopefully they throw it through their window, would be nice. So yeah, I'll wrap things up here. I'm ready to go home now. Pretty happy with it. It could have been a better result if I had 2 people. Would have been a much nicer finish and quicker. But as you can see, all the bog is pretty much going to be removed all around. It's up to the right plane now everywhere, so they can just dig all that junk out of there. Does not need to be in there at all. So yeah, pretty happy with that. This would have been a bit quicker with 2 people, 1 person inside to hold the dolly instead of me using the easy bead and struggling a little bit. But yeah, can't really complain too much. Would have been nicer to have first go of this thing, and then you would have done the wheel arch stretch and stuff with the quarter off the car, done it properly. But this has come out pretty decently. I can't really complain too much. So yeah, I'm going to wrap things up here. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back on the Cosmos next week.